This time on Filmmaker, we are looking at Roger Moore's James Bond. Moore picked up the mantle in the early 70s and ran with it for 6 films, and while Connery was a suave 60s Bond with a tough guy charm, Moore brought a sly cheekiness to the role that was a bit more at home in the swinging 70s. It didn't always work, however, so let's take a look and count them down. Number 7. The Man with the Golden Gun. You probably remember the closing Funhouse duel with the cool name Scaramanga, played by Christopher Lee, who it turns out was not always 100 years old. What you probably don't remember is the lead-up to that duel, which includes some Codex-related detective work, a hapless dojo, and the unwanted return of Sheriff J.W. Pepper. The Man with the Golden Gun has one of the best theme songs of any James Bond movie, but sadly the film mostly does not live up to it. Number 6. For Your Eyes Only. Moore's 4th Bond film is the epitome of a mishmash. When it plays it straight, it has some fun ski chases and some of the best underwater scenes in the series. The problem is that it too rarely plays it straight. It starts with the weirdly comedic and likely lawsuit-related death of Ernst Stavros Blofeld and includes the ultra-American sex-crazed 16-year-old figure skater Bibi and a parrot talking to Margaret Thatcher. But of all the questionable choices, by far the biggest is the decision to take the Sheena Easton theme over the far superior Blondie version. Number 5. A View to a Kill. Let's start with the 2 huge highlights of this film, Grace Jones and Christopher Walken, who both go well over and above the call of duty. Part-time Charlie's Angel Tanya Roberts is also pretty okay. The tricky part with this film is that it's just so 80s. It feels less like a James Bond and more like a generic 80s action film. Just check out that elevator scene filled with external police shots if you want an example. It also has a tacked-on Nazi subplot that's barely explored. All that said, though, Christopher Walken is really a lot of fun to watch. Number 4. Moonraker. In an attempt to compete with the sci-fi craze of the late 70s, the decision was made to send James Bond into space, but he takes a long time to get there. The bulk of Moonraker has Bond and the amazingly named Holly Goodhead running away from Jaws through the streets of Rio de Janeiro and on a cable car before getting mixed up with an Amazon cult of very pretty people, and finally ending up on one of the most 70s space scenes ever filmed. It maybe works better if you think of it as an expensive B-movie, but with a bad guy named Hugo Drax, you have to know what you're getting into. Number 3. Live and Let Die. This is the most 70s of any of the James Bond movies. Just listen to that amazing Paul McCartney theme song. Largely set in the US, it combines blaxploitation films with a smidge of Dukes of Hazzard and a story that is part drug trafficking and part voodoo. It has a lot of Bond's greatest hits. Shark pools, train fights, and speedboat chases, and most of them work except for the latter, which turns into a weird 20-minute comedic relief bit featuring Southern Fried Sheriff J.W. Pepper, perhaps the worst character in Bond franchise history. But it also has the memorable Baron Samedi and Dr. Quinn medicine woman Jane Seymour as the very cool Solitaire. It was a fantastic start for Roger Moore and a big shot in the arm for the franchise. Number 2. Octopussy. 1983 was a strange year for James Bond as we had Connery return in Never Say Never Again and compete directly with his predecessor. Moore's film did win the battle in the end, finally settled that war. And while Octopussy still has some of the questionable humor of the also John Glenn directed For Your Eyes Only, it feels a bit more like a classic Bond film than many in Moore's run. There is an over-the-top billionaire, there are Soviet entanglements, and there's a healthy mix of planes, trains, and high-stake gambling. Number 1. The Spy Who Loved Me. Roger Moore's third outing as 007 is the clear high point of his run. Spy Who Loved Me is a tightly written, fast-moving film with everything you could want in a Bond movie, even if it has almost zero in common with the novel it is named after. The heart of the film is Bond's partnership/relationship with his Russian counterpart, Agent Triple X, and the story follows a surprisingly linear path for a Bond film in storytelling and character building. It also features the introduction of fan favorite Jaws and the Atlantis, which is maybe the coolest villain hideout of the series. It isn't just Moore's best Bond, it is one of the very best of the entire series. And that's it. Please let me know which are your faves of Roger Moore's run. Do you love Scaramanga? Or those crazy Moonraker space scenes? Maybe you are a J.W. Pepper fan. Probably you're not. Also, please like and subscribe, and hopefully, I will see you all next time.